It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview Mackenzie Pearce, who is the ACC Network studio show executive producer. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me on, Brandon.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to be a sports executive producer?
Yeah, so growing up, I really wanted to be on air, actually. In high school, was our studio or our newscast anchor. And once I got to college, I realized that that might not be where I fit best because I really love being in charge of a show and coming up with all the ideas behind it. Whereas as the anchor, at least for high school, I didn't really have that freedom. I was more given a script and this is what you read. So I didn't love that aspect of it. So once I got to college, I started realizing producing might be the route I wanted to take because of those reasons. And it basically started out as me going into the ACC Network studio shows as a freshman. I wasn't in Newhouse at the time, our communications school, and showing up every week for every game, and the people above me graduated. I worked my way up, and that's how I became the executive producer.
Can you talk about what you actually do as the executive producer for ACC Network?
Definitely. So typically, say we have a game on a Saturday, I'll start working probably the Sunday before that game. So watching any of those teams' games that happen the week before, I'll read every article out there about the team, about that game. I'll research all the players. And again, if you do this team multiple times, you don't have to do the same amount of work because you start to memorize these things and know more about the team. But say this is like the beginning of the season. And a few days before the game, I'll send out my rundown. But again, that whole week, I'm still talking to my crew, my talent, and making sure that everybody has what they need for the game. So that way nobody's left in the dark. I'll typically tend to build our graphics, figure out what footage I need, have to contact maybe the other school that we're playing to get their footage from their previous games. And it's a lot of communication back and forth between our live game crew and our studio crew, between talent, producers, all of that. It's a huge mesh of people, and we really all have to come together to make a great broadcast at the end of the day.
What was your experience like on Fox Sports?
So for Fox Sports and the Yes Network, I was an associate director. My professor and mentor, Olivia Stomsky, she's the director of the Sports Media Center. She really helped me out. She took me under her wing when I was a freshman. And last year, my junior year of college, she invited me to associate direct for a men's basketball game. And that was probably the coolest experience I've had in college. It was so much fun. It includes talking to master control, which is people putting in breaks, going to commercials, making sure we're on the air, and counting back highlights. There's so many small details that it helps the producer and the director just knowing what's coming next and keeping the game flowing smoothly. And then I most recently got to do it for a women's soccer game this fall.
Can you talk about what it was like being on the Yes Network with the New York Yankees, like known for that?
Yeah, it was super cool. I think it's always an honor to get to work for these awesome companies and broadcast networks. It's a very humbling experience as well to have someone you really look up to invite you to work for these networks. And it's something I definitely don't take for granted.
What was your time like studying broadcasting at Syracuse?
So it was a little rocky, honestly, because as a freshman, as I said, I didn't get into Newhouse. I decided to come to Syracuse anyway with the hope of being an internal transfer once I graduate or once I finish my freshman year. And I worked really hard, got the grades I needed, and was accepted by my sophomore year. And that's when I really started taking those broadcast and digital journalism classes, learning how to write. And luckily, from my high school experience, I was able to catch up quickly because I knew how to use Adobe Premiere. I had a basis of script writing. I knew a little bit, and that really helped me, especially being a year behind everybody else. And now I'm doing a lot of new stuff in my classes, but I get to do a lot of sports in my extracurricular. So I feel like I really get a good balance. And it really is all what you make it. If you put in the effort to get the help from your professors and your teachers, then you will receive that back. People love people who work hard.
What is it like being on air for Syracuse?
It's exhilarating. It's so much fun. When we're counting down that last 10 seconds, 10, 9, 8, your heart is just like in your stomach because anything can happen on live TV, but you can't let your talent know that. You have to keep cool, calm, and collective, even if the truck is on fire. So it's unlike any experience I've ever felt. I think that's why so many people love their jobs and stay in it till they're in their 70s, 80s. People love working in this industry, and definitely that thrill of being on live television is part of it.
What are some of your future plans once you graduate from Syracuse?
I'm hoping to get any job, honestly. I'm looking at a bunch of different networks, any network that has a sports program, obviously ESPN, NBC Sports, CBS Sports, Fox Sports, any of those big companies would be great to work for as a production assistant, editor, anything like that. I just really want to get my foot in the door and start. But again, the end goal is either studio producing or live game producing. I'm not sure exactly which route I want to go because I love both of them right now.
What advice would you give upcoming sports broadcasters and sports producers looking to get into the industry?
I have 2 big tips of advice. Work hard and be a good person. If you're a good person, people are going to want to work with you. If you show that you want to work hard and you want to be there and you're going to go that extra mile to get there, people are going to say, yes, please come on. Even if you don't have as much experience as the person next to you, if they're not someone that people want to work with and think that they can sit in a truck with for hours and hours on end before a game, they're not going to get hired. And I think, honestly, just being a good person and showing that you're there to work hard is the biggest advice I can give.
That's wonderful. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
So I'm Mackenzie_Pearce on Instagram, Mackenzie Pearce on Facebook, and on Twitter, I'm __ Mackenzie P. I know it's a little ridiculous. I made it in high school.
Thank you again, Mackenzie Pearce, for your interview, and best of luck as a sports producer in your upcoming.
Thank you so much, Brandon. I appreciate being on your show.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Mackenzie, for your interview, and best of luck.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.